Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds have hired former CIA agents with a proven track record of lying to the public, gaslighting the public.
Blake Lively just made one of the wildest moves yet in her legal feud with Justin Baldoni, and it screams hypocrisy. She's reportedly brought in a high-priced ex-CIA fixer to rescue her collapsing reputation. These operatives are infamous for bending reality itself to control the story. But even with a government-grade PR strategist in her corner, she doesn't stand a chance against Brian Friedman in court.
News, Justin Baldoni just got a big win, meaning Blake Lively got a big loss. Are her lawyers dumb? Like, what's happening? Why do they keep making these mistakes and fumbling the ball like this?
What began as a lawsuit has spiraled into Hollywood's biggest circus. Blake's case against Baldoni has morphed into a disastrous PR war, one where she's not only losing legally, but turning herself into the punchline. Once hailed as America's sweetheart, Blake is now flailing in desperation, lobbing every legal stunt she can dream up at Baldoni. The problem? None of it is landing, and the spectacle is blowing up in her face.
Is it not a little hypocritical? Is this a bad look of her if she's trying to tell the courts that we should stop talking about this in public?
Blake isn't just losing, she's crashing and burning in spectacular fashion. Every move she makes only exposes her further as a manipulative, entitled Hollywood starlet who thought she could twist the legal system into her own personal weapon of revenge. But reality just hit back. Judge Lewis Lyman didn't just reject her arguments. He body-slammed her entire legal team straight into the floor of that courtroom.
A lot of this sort of like Blake complaining that they're evading the privacy, they're doing all this, but then meanwhile, right, she's on Saturday Night Live with Ryan making jokes, hitting back. I mean, is it not a little hypocritical? Is this a bad look of her if she's trying to tell the courts that we should stop talking about this in public?
The latest ruling wasn't a hearing, it was a judicial roast. Blake's lawyers stormed in demanding Baldoni's entire life history be dumped on their desk. Every phone call, every text, every GPS ping since 2022.
Blake was trying to basically ask for like 2.5 years worth of cell phone records, everything, locations, all this data, which felt very evasive.
Yes, 2022. Even though Blake herself swore under oath that his supposed retaliation began in 2020. Apparently, time travel is now central to her legal strategy. Bravo. Her team actually subpoenaed Baldoni's carrier for 2 years' worth of call logs, text archives, and location data.
Basically said, listen, it's ridiculous that you're asking for all this stuff because you're asking for 2.5 years, but you claim the retaliation started in August of this summer.
And it didn't stop there. They wanted the same from PR executives, corporate insiders, and even Baldoni's doctor. Because clearly, nothing says Hollywood conspiracy like a man's annual checkup notes being dragged into Blake Lively's courtroom meltdown.
Baldoni, you're right. We have squashed the subpoena. The reach was too big, and therefore they agreed that the ruling, they squashed the extent to seek the phone records of Wayfair. The ruling is without prejudice. Live parties, several modified subpoena.
Judge Lyman wasn't buying a word of it. He looked at Blake's subpoena circus, sighed, and smacked it down as ridiculously broad and completely unnecessary. He even called it overly intrusive and disproportionate, the judicial equivalent of, what on earth are you even asking for?
I met Bird and they said they were going to get rid of the request to the extent it said all documents related to blank, and they just wanted the phone records. And the court said no. The court said that could include therapists, doctors, friends, colleagues, business people. It's way too broad.
Blake's team strutted in expecting a big win, only to shuffle out looking like rookies. Even attorney Greg Doucette, a seasoned legal commentator, was stunned by the nonsense. He called it a swing and a miss, which is lawyer speak for, Blake, you just humiliated yourself.
What he did is he sent him back to the drawing board and said, you got to go meet and confer again. You could serve a more narrowly tailored subpoena, but you haven't done it here.
Let's be honest, Blake's legal team is an absolute disaster. They're fumbling harder than a toddler learning to walk. She swears Baldoni started a smear campaign in 2024, yet demands his records going back to 2022. Even the judge flagged. The contradiction, basically labeling her whole case idiotic. If you can't get your own timeline straight, you've already earned every loss headed your way.
Is this truly a win for Justin and a loss for Blake?
Absolutely a win for Justin, and you're absolutely right, Andy, in your interpretation of the document. What they said is basically, they told you to go, you have to go meet and confer and see even come up with more narrow requests.
Of course, Blake wasn't about to take this loss quietly. Instead of hiring competent lawyers or wild idea actually proving her case, she pulled the classic Hollywood starlet move, bringing in a government-trained propagandist to scrub her mess.
He's right there. He's absolutely right there. They are trying to keep some evidence out of the...
Enter Nick Shapiro, the former CIA deputy chief of staff who somehow reinvented himself as a crisis PR expert. When celebrities panic, they call a man trained in psychological warfare and government-level media manipulation. Because nothing screams innocence like hiring someone whose day job was literally covering up scandals.
Both Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds have hired former CIA agents with a proven track record of lying to the public, gaslighting the public.
And Shapiro isn't just any fixer. He worked directly under ex-CIA Director John Brennan, playing a key role in intelligence-backed media control. Oh, and in 2020, he was one of the 51 officials who signed that infamous letter dismissing Hunter Biden's laptop as Russian disinformation. Translation: he lied to the entire world to protect a political figure, and now he's supposed to make Blake Lively look like a victim? Good luck with that.
She's quietly working with Nick Shapiro, the CIA's former deputy chief of staff and senior advisor to former director John Brennan. So this guy, high up, just about as high up as you can possibly get.
Let's be real. Blake didn't bring Shapiro on for basic PR. She hired him to silence journalists, bury unflattering coverage, and spin the narrative by force. This isn't about reputation management. This is a cover-up in designer heels.
Sort of take out, smear, and destroy the reputations of people that they don't like, or people perhaps that their clients don't like. But the question is, who do they do that on behalf of?
Blake knows her case is collapsing, and instead of taking the loss with dignity, she's doubling down on deception. Forget better lawyers or stronger arguments. She's banking on a former intelligence officer to distract the public from the truth. She's losing.
Ryan, who for sure gave that information to Megan Twohey of the New York Times, have opted to use a former top guy at the CIA for PR. So what is he doing for them exactly? Okay.
Candace Owens torched this little stunt on site. She flat out said it. Nick Shapiro isn't a PR agent. He's a government propagandist. And that's exactly why Blake hired him. Not to win in court, but to muzzle the press and spin the narrative in her favor.
This is an actual headline right now in Variety. It reads that Blake Lively hires CIA alum for crisis PR in legal battle with Justin Baldoni.
But here's the punchline. It's backfiring spectacularly. Hollywood insiders see straight through her tactics. The public's turning on her faster than she imagined. And every time her legal strategy implodes, Blake doesn't look innocent. She looks guilty.
I mean, that first subpoena, as you pointed out when we talked on our prior show, it was massively overbroad. It basically asked for everything under the sun. And it was crazy. And it was never going to get granted in full. So I'm surprised they didn't back off and try to do a little more tailored at the beginning.
Blake thought she was playing chess, but let's be real. She's barely playing checkers. Hiring Nick Shapiro only made her look desperate. Failing to pry Baldoni's phone records just proved she has no evidence. The more her legal team embarrasses themselves, the clearer it becomes she's got nothing.
The judge makes a point of like, well, then why do you need 2 years worth? In her own suit, she alleges this campaign started in August. So why the reach for 2.5 years? It was nice to see the judge really sort of acknowledge that. This was the part I'm looking.
And the stakes couldn't be higher. Baldoni is suing Blake and Ryan Reynolds for $400 million, accusing them of defamation and extortion. Meanwhile, the New York Times faces a $250 million lawsuit for running a hit piece, almost certainly spoon-fed by Blake's camp.
Anyone else seeing the gaslighting from Blake and Ryan, constantly trying to just wave things that we've seen with our own minds and pretend like they didn't happen?
Now, with Judge Lyman shredding her subpoena requests, Baldoni's case looks stronger than ever. What began as Blake's attempt to annihilate his career is circling back like a boomerang. And when the dust settles, she may be the one left with no career at all.
A massive part of the CIA's job, really the most important part of the CIA's job, is managing public relations, because we, the people, wouldn't agree to go to war unless they sold that idea to us. So they need a crisis.
Blake Lively's hypocrisy has gone from tragic to flat-out comical. Back in 2020, she mocked Justin Baldoni for hiring crisis PR experts before their film's release, painting him as a desperate celebrity scrambling to save face. Fast forward to 2024, and what does she do? She hires an actual CIA-trained propagandist. She ridiculed Baldoni for hiring PR, then turned around and dragged in a deep state fixer to bail out her sinking ship.
Thinks this is okay and like proudly displaying us, we're women, so we can just lie and cheat and steal our way into control these big movies. I mean, how disturbing is this to you?
She really thought no one would notice. But the internet never forgets, and neither does the public. Blake mocked Baldoni for controlling narratives, yet now she's the one begging Hollywood friends for sympathy and planting hit pieces across the media. And let's not ignore how desperate she and Ryan Reynolds looked when they tried to turn the lawsuit into a Saturday Night Live comedy bit. Pro tip: when you're losing in court, stand-up isn't the solution.
Saturday Night Live with Ryan making jokes, hitting back. I mean, is it not a little hypocritical? Is this a bad look of her if she's trying to tell the courts that we should stop talking about this in public?
Here's the problem. You can't play both victim and bully at the same time. Blake demands Baldoni stay silent, calling it unfair for him to speak out, while she weaponizes her massive Hollywood network to push the poor Blake storyline. Through friendly outlets, that's not strategy, that's clown logic.
Blake Lively is caught in old footage, revealing that yes, her secret plan is to always take control of the movies and lie to the directors.
She thought hiring Nick Shapiro would be her power move. Instead, it blew up in her face. Now, instead of looking like a victim, she looks like someone orchestrating a full-scale cover-up. If you've got nothing to hide, why bring in a CIA operative? To run your PR? Baldoni hired a Hollywood crisis manager. Blake? She brought in a man trained in government propaganda. The overkill is embarrassing.
What she has told people in interviews, she's opened up about the fact that she struggles for equality, all of the struggles that she faces on behalf of trying to stand up as.
And guess what? The public isn't buying it. The harder Blake tries to twist the narrative, the faker she looks. Instead of a woman fighting for justice, she comes off as someone hell-bent on destroying a man's life simply because he dared to push back. The hypocrisy is glaring, and it's burning through whatever shred of credibility she had left.